So good afternoon. Welcome to the last session on straight lines. So in today's session, we are going to primarily talk about three concepts. Number one, we are going to talk about equation of the bisectors and the different type of problems that come associated to this concept. Number two, we'll be talking about the condition for concurrency of three lines. And thirdly, we'll talk about family of concurrent lines. Okay, so these are the three concepts which are left. So today we'll be covering these three concepts. Now let me tell you, the concept of bisectors of a pair of intersecting lines is not an easy concept. Okay, I would request everybody to pay attention. Those who have joined in late, I don't know what will happen to them. Okay, many people are still to join in. Okay, so let me at least write down the name of the topic. The topic name is equations of bisectors of pair of intersecting lines. Pair of intersecting lines. Okay. So as the name of the topic suggests, there are two intersecting lines. Let me draw them. One I'll draw in white. Okay. Other I'll draw in yellow. Okay. So let's say L1 and L2 are your two lines which intersect each other. Okay. Now, when they intersect, basically two angles are created between them. One is your this angle, okay, and other is your this angle, correct? Okay. So if I draw lines bisecting this angle or these angles that has been generated, then those will be called as the bisector lines. So if let's say I bisect this angle, okay, and I bisect this angle, I hope you can see the blue line and the red line on your screen, which are basically acting as bisectors. So this blue line bisects this angle. That means this angle and this angle are same. The yellow line bisects this angle. That means this angle and this angle are same. Okay. So now my question is, if you know your L1 and L2 equations, how do I get the equations of their bisectors? So how do I get the equation of this red line and this blue line? So let's say these are the equations of L1 and L2. Now I would invite first of all suggestion from your side. How do you think you'll find the equation of these two bisectors? Let me name them, bisector B1 and bisector B2. Any idea? Okay. Okay. Now, whatever method you are trying to suggest, just do a complete cycle of the process. And how easy is it to, you know, apply that process that you're thinking of or you're suggesting to me in order to solve the question? How feasible it is? How practical is it? Some of you are suggesting me to take the gradient, okay, to take the average of the gradient, okay, then take tan of it, correct, and then construct the equation from there. How practical is it? Is it practical? I mean, is it time efficient? Ask yourself that question. Is it time efficient? And how would you get the, see, when you take the average of the gradient, okay, probably you'll get one of the bisectors. How would you get the other one? Probably you'll say you'll take the difference and average, okay. And see, you have been given the equation of these lines. That means you already know tan of the angle of inclinations. Now you're planning to take the average of the angle of inclinations and then take a tan of it. Are you getting my point? So if you don't have a calculator, doing this would not be a easy task. Can I have an easier way to do it? Okay, let us discuss it. This particular situation can be easily be handled by locus. Yes, locus is a very, very easy way to handle the situation. Can I say bisectors are nothing but locus of such points whose distance from the two lines are equal? Correct? Easy. It cannot get easier than this, correct? So what I'm trying to say, if you take a point on any one of the bisectors, let me take it on B2. Okay. So can I say B2 would be made of some set of points or such set of points whose perpendicular distance, let me draw perpendicular from P onto the two lines, whose perpendicular distance from the two given lines would be equal, correct? So this will be equal to this, right? And same would be true for any point that you take on B1 as well, isn't it? Right? So if I drop a perpendicular from any point on B1 onto the two lines, even they will be equal, right? So why don't we make use of this situation, right? So can I say the equation of the bisectors, or the bisectors basically are locus of points that are equidistant from L1 and L2, correct? So let's use this. So h comma k distance from L1. What will be h comma distance from L1? You'll say A1h B1k plus C1 mod by under root of A1 square plus B1 square. Similarly, what is the distance of, let me not write equal to right now. What is the distance of h comma k from L2? You'll say A2h B2k plus C2 mod by under root of A2 square plus B2 square, correct? And ideally, these two should be equal, correct? Yes or no? If they have to lie on the bisectors. Now, just drop the mod sign from both the sides and replace your h with x and k with a y. So drop the mod sign from both the sides and replace your h with an x and k with a y. This would lead us to this equation, my dear. This would lead us to this equation where plus and minus, if you take, it will correspond to the bisectors. So two bisectors. So with plus, you'll get one bisector. So with this plus sign, you'll get one bisector. And with this minus sign, you'll get another bisector. Okay. So both the equations, they come from the same locus condition, right? So I'll write it down for your notes. So with a plus sign, okay, you'll get one bisector, and with the minus sign, you will get another bisector. Is that fine? Okay, simple concept. It can't get easier than this. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody who have joined in. So please make a good note of this, because we are now going to spend at least 1.5 hours of today's class talking about concepts related to it. Yes, a very important point that Pranav has brought up here is that the bisectors B1 and B2 would always be perpendicular to each other. So this is something that you should note down, important note for everybody. Bisector B1 and B2, okay, are perpendicular to each other, are perpendicular to each other, perpendicular to each other. Okay, very simple to prove this. If you see at the diagram, everything will be clear from the diagram. So let's say I call this angle to be theta. So this will also be theta, correct? Let me call this angle to be phi. So this will also be phi, correct? So from the diagram, you can clearly see that 2 theta, 2 theta plus 2 phi is equal to pi, because it lies on the straight line, isn't it? So it implies that theta plus phi is going to be pi by 2, which is clearly the angle between B1 and B2. As you can see from here, see the motion of my cursor, theta 1 plus theta 2 is pi by 2. Is this fine? Okay. So here is the equation of the bisectors. Please make a note of this. We'll take a quick question on this, and then we'll move on to concepts related to it. Can I move on to the next page? People who have joined in late, have you copied it, or at least take a snapshot of it so that you don't waste others' time? So I assume all your holidays have started, isn't it? So let me take the attendance also. Yeah. All right. So let's take a quick question on this. Yeah. The bisector, the equations of the bisector of the angle between the two lines is, in fact, they should write equations of the bisectors is. Madhav, do you want me to go back? Have you just noted down the formula? That's what is useful to you right now. Okay, then that is fine. All right, so let me put the poll on. This is just a formula based question. You just have to apply the formula that we had studied in the previous page and you're done. Let's have around 1.5 minutes for this. It's just an application of the formula. No issues. I know your first name and last name also, Hariharan. Yes, guys, 1 minute done, over. Only 3 of you have responded. Okay, I can give you 30 more seconds. Last 20 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. End of poll. Most of you have gone with option number B. Okay. B for Bengaluru. Let's check whether B was correct or not. See, it's just an application of the formula that we had studied in the previous page. So I'm not going to write H and K. I'm directly going to write it in terms of X and Y. So this by under root of 3 square and minus 4 square is equal to plus minus 12x minus 5y minus 8 by under root of 12 square plus minus 5 square. Okay. Let me save my time and energy and let me replace this guy with a 5. We all know this is going to be a 5. Okay. And this is going to be a 13. Okay. So the data was given in such a way that you don't have any problem simplifying it. Let's cross multiply. So 13 times 3x minus 4y plus 7 is equal to plus minus or 5 times minus plus minus 5 times 12x minus 5y minus 8. Okay, so let's simplify this. 39x minus 52y plus 91 is equal to plus minus 60x minus 25y minus 40. Okay, now let's take a plus sign first. If you take a plus sign first, let's bring the left term to the right. So let's take a plus first. Okay, so with the plus in place, you will end up getting, or let me write it down. So let's take a plus symbol first. So 39x minus 52y plus 91 is equal to 60x minus 25y minus 40. Let's bring the left hand side term to the right hand side. You will get 21x, you will get plus 27y, and you'll get minus 131 equal to 0. So this is your one of the equations. Okay. Now let us take a minus sign. If you take a minus sign, you'll get 39x minus 52y plus 91, and put a minus sign over here. Minus 60x minus 25y minus 40 equal to 0. So now let us take everything to the left side. So this will be 99x, okay, and this will be minus 77y, and this will be 51, if I am not wrong, equal to 0. So this would be your another equation. So any option which gives you these two equations, let's check. Let's check. It's option A. Option A is the right option. Oh my God, Janta was wrong. First question, clean bold. Huh? Janta went for B. What happened, Janta? Sign mistake. I hope I have not done any sign mistake. No, I think I'm correct. Okay. Oh. Okay. Anyways, this is not a difficult concept. It doesn't require any, several problem practice. Now, what is important to us are the three types of questions which are framed on this. Of course, the question that you saw was the most basic one. Probably, if you have done that in concept in school, which I don't think so is there in the school syllabus, then you would have done questions of that type. But JEE and other exams in particular ask three types of questions. So I have typified them into three types. Okay, don't expect this to be asked, this to be in your regular textbooks. Okay, so this is the typification which I have done depending upon the concepts that I have seen. One type of question is where they would ask you not the bisectors directly, but they would ask you to find the bisector bisecting the angle containing the origin. Okay, now let me first explain this to you. What is the meaning of bisector? Bisecting the angle, or you can say bisector of the angle containing the origin. Let me keep it minimalistic. Bisector of the angle containing the origin. Now see, when you draw the lines, let's say these are my coordinate axes. So let me draw my lines in white and yellow. So let's say this is one of the lines, and let's say this is another line. Okay. Now you would see that your origin lies over here, correct? Right? So the bisector which bisects the angle containing the origin. So let me choose a color. Let's say choose a green color. So basically this is the bisector which bisects the angle containing the origin. So this is the requirement of the question. So the question setter may directly ask you to give the bisector of that angle where the origin falls. It doesn't mean the bisector has to pass through origin. Don't get me wrong. So listen to the concept. The concept says, get me the bisector of that angle which contains the origin, or where the origin falls. So as you can see, this is the angle where the origin falls. So basically I need the bisector which bisects that angle. In other words, they're asking you for this green color bisector, which I have shown to you in the diagram. Clear? This is type 1 question. Okay, we will discuss it out, don't worry. Type 2 question is, you will be asked for bisector of the angle containing a given point alpha comma beta. Need not be origin, it could be any point, okay, containing the point alpha comma beta. Okay, so again, as I told you, let's say one of the angles would be containing alpha comma beta. Probably let's say alpha comma beta is here. Okay, then basically they're asking you the bisector of that angle which contains alpha comma beta. So they're asking you the equation of, let's say, this gray bisector. Okay, so this gray bisector would be the one which is bisecting the angle which contains this given point alpha comma beta. That's the second type of questions that you will get. Third type of question that is framed on this concept is the bisector of the acute or the obtuse angle between the lines. Okay, so they may ask you, give me the obtuse angle bisector or give me the acute angle bisector directly. They may not ask you both the equations, correct? So how do we find that particular bisector that they require? Okay, so we'll talk about these three types of questions one by one. Let me begin with type 1 questions. Okay. Meanwhile, you have understood the problem statement, what type of questions are framed? Any doubt regarding this? Okay, so let me discuss this with type 1 questions. Type 1 question where we'll be talking about bisector of the angle containing the origin. Containing the origin. Okay, so let me draw a diagram. Let me draw a diagram. So these are my coordinate axes, x and y. This is my origin. And let's say the two lines that I have is the white line like this and the yellow line like this. Okay. Now you can all see that this is the angle which is containing the origin, correct? Right? So what do I need? I need the equation of the bisector, okay, which bisects this angle, correct? How will I get it? Now listen to the process. It is slightly tricky, guys. So I would like you to be very, very attentive. Okay. Please be very, very attentive. Okay. Here and there, if you miss out, you will not understand the concept. Okay. At least the derivation part you will not understand. Are you getting my point? Of course, you will remember the result, but from where did that result come? You will not be able to follow if you don't listen to me properly. Okay. Okay. So let us say my two line equations given to me are such that my C1 and C2 have been made positive. So as you can see, there is C1 and C2 over here, the constant terms, okay, such that they have been made positive. C1 and C2 are positive. Okay, if it is 0, not a problem, but if it is, let's say, a negative term, you should make it positive. How would you make a C1 or C2 positive? Let's say C1 was -3. How would you make it positive? You'll say simple, I will multiply the whole equation with a -1. Correct? So right now, my starting point itself is writing the two equations of the given line L1 and L2. Let me name them L1 and L2 in such a way that their constant terms have been made positive. Now, why is that constraint? You will understand in some time as I discuss the concept with you. Okay. So initially they may not give you C1, C2, or they may not give you equations with C1, C2 as positive, or let's say any one of them is negative. Then your duty is to make them positive first. So before this procedure starts, you should have made the constant terms in the equation of the two lines as positive. Remember, this is written in the general form. General form means ax plus by plus c equal to 0 form. Okay. In this form, your C1 and C2 should have been positive. If not, then you have to make it positive. Is this understood? No doubt about it. Why to make it positive? You will understand in some time. Okay. Now, all of you listen to this very carefully. This concept is related to the positioning of 2 points with respect to a line, or position of 2 points relative to a line, which we had done, I think, the last class, right? Okay. Now listen to this, everybody. If I take any point on this line, okay, let's say I take a point over here, h comma k, okay, then my h comma k, or the point which I choose on this blue line, can lie in two positions. One is this position, let me call it as P1, or I could choose an h comma k from here, correct? Let's say I call this position as P2 position, correct? So basically what I'm trying to claim is I'm trying to take a generic point on the bisector whose equation I desire, whose equation I need. Okay. So if I take any point on that bisector whose equation I need, then that point could be located at either this side or this side. Now, what is the difference between the two sides? If you see P1 side, in P1 side, you'll realize your h comma k and your origin, focus on these 2 points, h comma k and origin, they will lie on the same side of L1 and they will lie on the same side of L2 as well. Yes or no? right? So let me take that case first. So if, let me call it as case 1. Okay, case 1 is where your h comma k, okay, let me write p1, h comma k and the origin, that is 0 0, okay, lie on same side of L1 and L2. Okay, so both are on the same side of both the lines. So if you take L1 into consideration, P1 and origin lie on the same side of L1. If you take L2 into consideration, then also P1 and O lie on the same side of L2. Okay, now listen to this very, very carefully. If you take line L1 into consideration and you are claiming that h comma k and origin lie on the same side of it, then can I write this A1h B1k plus C1 by A1 into 0 B1 into 0 plus C1 should be positive. Same side means these two should be same sign. Remember our last class concept? I made a rhyme out of it. Same sign, same side. Opposite sign, opposite side, isn't it? So if they lie on the same side of L1, then can I say when I substitute h comma k in L1 equation and I substitute 0 comma 0 also in L1 equation, they must be of the same sign. That means their ratio should be positive. Anybody has any problem with this? Please let me know now. No problem? No concerns? Okay. Now since C1 has been taken as positive, now this was the reason why I made it positive. Can I take it to the other side and can I make this conclusion that this implies A1H plus B1K plus C1 would also be positive? Because your C1 has been made positive. Correct? So in the beginning of the process only I made it positive so that I can take it to the other side without affecting the inequality. Correct? Or you can say I can multiply both sides with C1 without affecting the inequality. Okay. Similarly, can I say if you take L2 into consideration, then h comma k and origin lie on the same side of L2 as well, right? So that means A2h plus B2k plus C2 by A20 B20 B2 into 0 plus C2 should also be positive, right? So from the very same reasoning, can I say A2h B2k plus C2 would also be positive? Yes or no? Correct. Now, let me take the equation of the bisectors. Remember in the very first slide that we discussed today, we had discussed that bisectors are basically such points, or bisectors are basically locus of such points whose distance from the two given lines, why am I writing in all different colors if we choose yellow? Yeah, whose distance from the two given lines is same. That means this is equal to this. Correct? Yes or no? Remember your very first slide that we had discussed today. Correct? Now the given bisector that I need, right, the one which I'm looking out for, is the one which satisfies the fact that this guy is positive and this guy is also positive, as you have already seen over here. Okay, look at these two. Look at these two, 1 and 2. Correct? So they're already positive for that particular bisector. Correct? So let me write it here from 1 and 2. So can I say modding a quantity which is already positive is a futile act? So let me remove the mod because they're already positive, isn't it? Okay. In other words, this is the condition that I get finally between h and k. So we all know that in order to get the equation of the line, we have to replace our h with x. So replace your h with x, replace your k with a y. When you do that, you end up getting the desired bisector equation to be this. Okay. Now hold on your questions. I know you have certain questions in mind. So let me complete it, then we will take questions. Okay. Okay. So now this will become your desired bisector. Now many people say, so wait, you just consider the point to be located at P1 and you got this condition. What if your point P1 was, what if your H comma K was located at P2, right? Then will that condition change? Let us see. Let us see, will that condition change or not? Right, Madhav. Madhav has already got it. He is ahead of time. Good, Madhav. Literally, yes, you are ahead of time. So in case two, if you take the position of H comma K at P2, then P2 and the origin will lie on opposite sides of L1 and L2. I would request you all to look at this figure once again. Okay, so if I take H comma K over here, it is still on the same bisector. Mind you, bisector has not changed. So I've just considered two different locations. So if it is on the same bisector, you will realize that origin and this point now are on the opposite side of L1. See here, L1, focus on L1, the yellow line. Origin and H comma K are on opposite side of L1. Similarly, origin and H comma K are on opposite side of the white line also, which is your L2 line. Yes or no? Yeah. So now, if that is the case, then by the same concept of relative position of 2 points with respect to a line, can I state that if I take L1 into my consideration, then A1H plus B1K plus C1 by A1 into 0, B1 into 0 by C1 would be negative. Correct? Opposite side, opposite sign, and opposite sign quantities, if you take their ratio, you'll get a negative answer. Correct? Now, since C1 is positive, can I say this will lead to A1H plus B1K plus C1 also as negative? Let me call this as 3. Okay. In the same way, can I say, if I take L2 line into my consideration, then A2H B2K plus C2 by A1 into 0, A2 into 0, B2 into 0 by C2 would also be negative, correct? Which means A2H B2K plus C2, this will also be negative. Let me call it as a 4, right? Now, if I go back to the same equation, let me put a barricade in between so that you are able to appreciate the two different cases. So if I go back to the same locus condition that is always true for a bisector, then can I say mod A1H B1K plus C1 by under root of A1 square plus B1 square will be mod A2H B2K plus C2 by under root of A2 square plus B2 square. So now from 2 and 3, not from 2 and 3, from 3 and 4, can I say now these guys, since they are negative, isn't it? So the mod will replace and put a negative sign over here, isn't it? Okay, so remove mod and put a negative sign there. Correct? Here also a negative sign will come. But does it really make a difference to our condition? You will say, no, sir, negative will cancel each other out. And my dear, you are back to the same equation. Correct? So if you generalize this, H with X and K with Y, you are back to the same equation. That is A1X plus B1Y plus C1 by under root of A1 square B1 square is equal to A2X plus B2Y plus C2 by under root of A2 square plus B2 square. So irrespective of where you position your H comma K, your equation is not getting changed. Yes or no? So here also the same equation and here also the same equation. Correct? So both the equations are coming out to be the same. So what is my conclusion? What is my conclusion from this entire hard work that I have done? The conclusion is, if you need the bisector of the angle containing the origin, then step number 1, make your C1, C2 positive, write down this equation, and you get your answer. That means you have to put a positive sign, and that would always give you the bisector containing the origin. Makes sense? Makes sense? Okay. So Shreya says I will write down the final answer. So the conclusion here is you have to follow two-step mechanism. Step one, okay, make your C1 and C2 positive. That you can easily do. If it is negative, you can multiply with a negative 1 on both sides of the equation. And step two, your answer would actually be a1x b1y c1 by under root of a1 square b1 square equal to a2x b2y c2 by under root of a2 square plus b2 square. This is to be noted. And again, I would like to iterate, my role here is not to give you formula, which I have already stated in the last class. I never do. Okay. I have never stated any formula, neither I'm going to do so unless until that formula is beyond your scope and it is definitely required for your competitive exams. So I always give a proof for it. Okay, so I hope this proof makes sense to you, but this is the working rule. Let me write it as the working rule for you. Now, any questions that you have, let me know. Any questions, any concerns? Is that fine? No questions? Okay. Let us substantiate this with a simple question, with a very, very simple question. Let me take the same very questions. No, Hariharan, don't do that. If C1, C2 is both is negative, multiply both the equations with -1. Are you getting my point? Okay. You don't have to leave it like that. Let's take the very same question. Let's take the very same question. We move on to the next page. Yeah. Now my question is, I'll change my question slightly. Which of the two bisectors, so let me scratch out all the other options. We know that only A option was correct. So I'm going to just scratch off. Okay. Question is, the equation of the bisector of the angle between the two lines containing the origin. Containing the origin. Okay. Now let me give you two options from here. Let me give you two options from here. A option is 99x minus 77y plus 51 equal to 0. And B option is 21x plus 27y minus 131 equal to 0. I'll put the poll on. You just have to mark A or B on the poll. Okay, don't mark C and D, then you'll be wasting your vote. Think, okay, and then act. Don't be in a hurry to act. A or B? We'll also verify this on GeoGebra once you're done with the polling. Very good. I've got 4 responses so far. Let's wrap this up in another 45 seconds. Very good. Very good that people are responding, but you will be surprised now 50-50 responses I've got for both of them. That means there is an element of confusion in the concept. There's no clean sweep by any option. Oh my God, running neck to neck. Okay, in another 10 seconds, we'll wrap this up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. It appears that people are looking at the poll result and then voting. Exactly 50-50 votes. Oh my goodness. What's some enmity with me? Huh? Why are you doing like this? Okay, let's discuss this. So guys, first of all, what did I tell you? Your line equation should be such that you have made your constant terms positive, right? Now for the first line, it is already positive, so don't disturb it. But for the other line, you'll see that there is a -8 sitting over here, right? So in order to make that plus, I have to multiply with a minus sign throughout. So this is what I was expecting you to do. Okay. Now deal with the new lines, my dear. Old lines are to be thrown out, right? Discard the old lines. You don't have to work with the old lines. You have to work with those lines where C1 and C2 have been made positive. Okay, so I've been repeating this again. Correct. Of course, they are the same lines, my dear. I'm not changing my lines, but I'm not going to work with the old lines. I'm working with the new lines. So all my formula is based on the new lines, not the old lines. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not changing any equation whatsoever. Now, what did I discuss in the last class? Sorry, last slide, that you have to take a positive sign in between. So your answer would be the equation of the bisector containing the origin would be the one where you have taken a plus sign in the formula. So basically, let me write down by 5, and you have to take a plus sign here, my dear. Oh, sorry, plus sign here. Okay, and minus 12x plus 5y plus 8 equal to 0 yeah, by 30. Okay, now let us simplify this. So 13 times 3x minus 4y plus 7 is equal to 5 times minus 12x plus 5y plus 8. Okay, so if you simplify this, you end up getting 99x, the other one, 99x minus 77y plus 51 equal to 0. So basically your A option is the right option. Okay, let's verify it. Let's verify it also by our GeoGebra. So guys, let me reiterate the whole process. I think there is an element of confusion regarding the whole process. First step is, whatever are the two lines given to you, ensure that their constant terms have been made positive. Do the needful for that. Okay. Once you have done, you will obtain new form of the equation. Let me not say new equations, new form of the equation. Correct. Old form has to be discarded. Correct. Now, according to the formula that we had derived in the previous slide, there has to be a plus sign in between the two terms that you normally write for the bisector equations in order to get your bisector of the angle containing the origin. That is all. Simple. Where is the confusion here? Correct. Let's go to the GeoGebra and understand that. Okay, so can somebody dictate to me? Don't dictate, I will figure it out. 3x minus 4y plus 7. Okay, so one equation was 3x minus 4y plus 7 equal to 0. Okay, this is one line. Let me pull the origin a bit. Next line was, I think, 12x minus 5y minus 8 equal to 0. 12x minus 5y minus 8 equal to 0. Okay, now you can clearly see that this origin is lying over here. That means you need a bisector. Let me just roughly sketch it. You need a bisector which would basically be positioned like this. I'm just drawing a rough diagram. Okay, and let us see whether 99x minus 77y plus 131, whatever it was, basically overlaps on this or not. Okay, let me just draw that. 99 minus 77 plus 51. 99x minus 77y plus 51 equal to 0. Oh my goodness, this is what we had expected. Yeah, see, Are you getting my point? Okay, so this is a very, very important type that you would normally get in your competitive exams, right? Is this clear? Any question, any doubt about the algorithm per se? Okay, again, I'll repeat the algorithm. Make C1, C2 positive if they are not. With the new form, construct the bisector equation with the plus symbol in between. That's it. Simple as that. Then this question will not arise, na, Aditya. If the question will not arise, then okay. If one of the line is passing through origin, then this question itself will not arise. Okay. They'll always ask you when the lines are not passing through origin. But that's a very good question that you asked. Okay. All right. So now we're going to type 2 questions. Okay. But for type 2 questions, I will not tell you the theory directly. In fact, let me come to you with a problem. Okay. So let me explain this concept type 2, which is the concept of bisector of the angle how to find the bisector of the angle containing a given point alpha comma beta. So let me come to you with a problem on this. So let me pull out a question. Okay, let me take a question from my side. Question is, find the equation of the bisector. I think I have a question, my man. 1 second. Yeah. Find the bisector of the angle between the two lines which contains the point 1, 2. Okay. So let me draw a quick diagram for the same. Okay. I will actually draw 2 random lines. So let's say one is like this. Okay. And another will be, let's say, my red line like this. Okay. Let's say like this. Yeah. Okay. Now 1, 2, let's say is lying over here. 1, 2 is lying over here. Okay. Now I need that bisector which bisects the angle, okay, where 1, 2 falls, where this point 1, 2 falls. In other words, I'm looking for this green bisector. Okay. Please note that I'm not talking about the bisector passing through the point. It is just bisecting that angle. It is bisecting that angle in which that point falls, in which that point belongs. Okay. How will you find this out? Any logic from your side? See, I want you to think. It's very easy for me to give you the theory for it, but then you will not inculcate that ability to tread an untreaded domain. Same process as the last time, Hariharan. Can you elaborate on it? Shifting of origin is a good idea, Madhav, but what you'll have to do, you'll have to shift the origin to 1, 2, change both the equations, get the desired bisector, and again put the origin back, and again change the bisector equation. Okay. So it would require you to, do multiple times of changing of equations due to the shifting of origin to and fro from 1, 2 and back to the origin. Okay, let me help you with that, Hariharan. I understand you can't write too many things, and I think you will not like to speak also. Now, let's say these are my 2 lines. I'll take them L1 as 2x plus y minus 6 equal to 0. Guys, pay attention to this because I'm going to directly give you a theory from this question itself, right? I'm not going to go into details of taking a generic proof. Okay, that is too time consuming. Oh wow, Pranav already gave me the answer. Good, Pranav. Yeah, but Very good, Madhav. At least you thought about that. Now see, all of you, please pay attention here. All of you, please pay attention. I would like you to pay attention here. Again, I need this green line, right? So on this green line, I could take h comma k point, correct? Now, just like the case of origin, I think that's what Hariharan also meant. There could be two positions of h comma k. Okay, one could be at P1, other could be at P2. Okay. If you take it at P1, so let me call it as case 1. Case 1. If let's say P1, which is your h comma k, and 1 comma 2, okay, if you see that, you'll realize that they both lie on same side of L1 and L2. Same side of L1 as well as L2, isn't it? Okay. So if you take your L1 into account, can I say that, correct me if I'm wrong, 2h plus k minus 6, so basically I'm putting this point into the L1 equation, divided by, if you put 1 comma 2 here, what will you get? If you put 1 comma 2, you will get 1 plus 2, which is 4, 4 minus 2, which is minus 2. And this would be positive, isn't it? In other words, 2h plus k minus 6 would be a negative term. Let me call it as 1. Okay. Similarly, if you take L2 into consideration, okay, then 2h minus 4k plus 7 by, and again if you put 1 comma 2 in L2, you will end up getting 9 minus 8, which is 1. Okay, so this will give me 2h minus 4k plus 7 as positive. Okay, let me call this as a second equation. Now, both h comma k would be equidistant from the two lines. So can I say this will be equal to this? Correct? If you remove your mod, then remember this guy was a negative term and this guy was a positive term. So when you remove your mod, you will have to put an external negative sign over here. Okay. And here, if you remove your mod, you don't have to do anything because that quantity was already positive. By the way, root 20, you should know that it's actually 2 root 5. Okay. So root 5 cancels off. Correct. And now if you simplify this, it becomes minus 2 times. And now also replace your h with x and k with a y. So this sooner or later we had to do it. So let me do it at this step only. Okay. And this is what you will get. Simplify it. If you simplify it, you will get 6x. Okay. And I think minus 2y. And I think minus 5 equal to 0. Is this what you had got, Pranav? No, I think you got something else. Okay. Now see what has happened in this case. You are basically doing the same concept that you did for a origin, right? And you figured out the sign of these two quantities. And you use these signs to redefine your mod over here. Correct? Yes or no? And then you simplified your result. Correct? Now, on the basis of this example, we can make a lot of extended conclusions. What extended conclusions I can draw? All of you just listen to me for another 2 to 3 minutes. Okay? Yes, any question, anybody? Was any question there? Oh, you made a calculation mistake, Pranav. Never mind. Now see, now if you go back here, then there could be several possibilities. What if your signs over here both were positive? Okay, that's one possibility. What if both were negative? That's the second possibility. And what if there are opposite signs? Just like what it happened in the present case. In the present case, as you can see, -2 and 1, they are of opposite signs, right? So what I'm trying to say is that when you put the alpha beta in the lines, okay, let me just give you a general theory for it. When you put alpha and beta in the two lines specified to you in the question, then you can get three possibilities, my dear, from here. Okay, in fact, you may get two possibilities from here. One, they may be of the same sign. That means they both may be positive, they both may be negative. Other is when they can be of opposite signs, which is what happened in our present example. This is what happened in our present example. So let me talk about if they're of the same sign, then let me go back. If both the denominators were negative or positive, do you realize if both were positive, then these two quantities would have been positive? The one which I'm showing with my cursor over here, correct? And when you're constructing this equation, you would realize that both moduli would have resulted into positive quantities, correct? Yes or no, right? And if both of them were negative, then these two quantities which I'm showing with my cursor, both would have been negative. And if you open the moduli over here, a negative sign would have appeared in their fronts and they would have eventually got cancelled, giving you the very same answer yet again. Correct? So what do I conclude from here? If it is of the same sign, then eventually the answer that you would get would be a1x b1y c1 by under root of a1 square b1 square with a positive sign over here, a2x b2y plus c2 by under root of a2 square plus b2 square. And if they were of opposite sign, then you would have got a negative sign in between. This is our final discovery or final conclusion that we are drawing from this particular discussion. Okay, don't worry, I'll summarize this also. So the summary is, first note this down. For everybody, first note this down. Please make a note of this. So let me conclude this. Let me give you a working rule for this. Working rule is, you will be given two equations of L1 and L2. You will be given the point alpha comma beta. Correct? This is what will be stated to you in the question. There is no requirement for you to make C1, C2 positive over here. As you can see, at no stage I talked about C1 and C2 being positive. Correct? Unlike the case of origin. Okay. So here what do? We put that given point in ax plus by plus c notation, right? In both the lines, and we check whether we are getting two numbers which are of the same sign or we are getting two numbers which are of the opposite sign. These are the only two possibilities, correct? If you are getting two numbers of the same sign, then follow this equation and you will get your answer. If your two numbers are of opposite sign, follow this equation and you will get your answer. Is the rule understood? Is the rule understood? Okay, so let us verify our result on GeoGebra for this example that we have done. So are we on the right track? Is our theory correct? Let us verify this on the GeoGebra too. So what was the equation of the lines? It was 2, 1, minus 6. So let me write it. Let me just 2, 1, minus 6 equal to 0. And the other line was 2, minus 4, 7. 2, minus 4, 7. Okay. Now 1, 2 also I will plot. 1, 2. Do you see 1, 2? So basically, I'm looking for that bisector which is going to be, which is going to be like this. Tuck, 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 tuck. This is the bisector that I desire. Let's see whether the answer that we have got is in sync with this. Okay, so what is the answer that we have got? Let's check. The answer that we have got is 6x minus 2y minus 5 equal to 0. So let me plot that also. 6x minus 2y minus 5 equal to 0. Oh my goodness, this is what we had. Oh, see, exactly on that red line. Is the idea clear? Right? I purposely didn't give you an upright theory because it would lead to a lot of confusions and you writing a lot of things. Any questions? I can see one question on the screen. So even for the origin, we can say something like, yes, of course, my dear. Origin is a special case of this, Aditya. Okay? Origin is a special case of this, right? Is that fine? Right. Very good. Now we are moving on to the third case. Third case is slightly complicated. So more complicated than the two cases that we have dealt so far. So type 3 type of questions. In this kind of questions, we are going to directly find bisectors of acute angle or obtuse angle. Okay. Please note, this concept that I'm talking about is applied to those lines which are not perpendicular to each other. So L1 and L2 should not be perpendicular to each other, because if they are, then acute and obtuse work do not make sense there. Okay. So here I am assuming that my lines are not perpendicular to each other before I start giving you the condition. Okay. Now all of you listen to this carefully. Listen to this carefully. This is slightly tricky. Okay. So let us say these are my coordinate axes. These are my coordinate axes. And these are my two lines. Let me draw them in yellow. And okay. You can clearly see that this is the acute angle between the lines and this is the obtuse angle between the lines, right? So one bisector would be like this. Oh, let me draw it in some other color. Which color should I choose? Gray, I've already used. Yellow, I've already used. Green color. Okay. So let me use my tools. Green color line. So basically this is your acute angle bisector. Wow. And this pink line is my obtuse angle bisector. Okay. Let me name it BA and BO. Okay. So how would I directly jump to BA or BO without having to find both the equations is what we are going to discuss right now. Now, all of you, please pay attention. There are two ways to do this. One is where you find both the bisectors. Okay. So method number one. One way is find both the bisectors. So find BO and BA equations. Okay. Now, don't ask me how, because we have already done this in the beginning of today's discussion, right? The locus conditions you have to use, plus and minus, two cases will come up. With both of them, you'll get one bisector each. Correct. Then what do you do? Step number 2, pick up any one of the lines. Let me call them as L1 and L2. Pick up any one of the lines. Okay. Let's say you pick up L2. Okay. Take its slope. Pick up any one of the bisectors. Okay. So let's say I pick up the acute angle bisector. I don't know yet. See, don't go by the name of it that BA and BO have named it. So basically I know which is the, which bisector. No, I know both the equations, but I am not able to know which is what. I mean, which bisector is the equation of the acute angle and which bisector is the bisector of the obtuse angle. So when you take this, then go ahead and find out tan theta, which we all know from our very first class, m1 minus m2 by 1 plus m1 m2. So basically you are taking up any one of the given lines, anyone. You can take anyone. It doesn't matter. You can take any one of the bisector equations that you have got. Anyone. Doesn't matter which one. Okay. And you find this out. Now, If this quantity comes out to be less than 1, that means the bisector that you picked up, or the bisector whose slope you picked up, was actually your acute angle bisector. Are you getting my point? If it comes out to be greater than 1, that means the bisector that you picked up was your obtuse angle bisector. Can somebody tell me why? Why is this so? Can anybody tell me that? You can type it on your screen or you can unmute yourself and talk. Anybody? Why if tan theta comes less than 1, then it was an acute angle bisector, and when tan theta is greater than 1, it's an obtuse angle bisector? Why? Absolutely correct, Aditya and Hariharan. See guys, it's common sense. If you had taken an obtuse angle bisector, then this angle would have exceeded 45 degrees, isn't it? Half of an obtuse angle is always greater than 45 degree. Okay, that doesn't need any explanation to substantiate it. So tan of an angle greater than 45 degree has to be greater than 1. Correct? And if you had picked up this angle, let's say you have picked up BA and this line, then this angle will be less than 45 degree, and tan of that has to be lesser than 1. Okay, this is a very good method, I don't deny that, but this has got some problems. The problem is you need to find both the bisectors and then figure out which is the acute and which is the obtuse. Correct? That's the biggest problem actually. What if I don't want to get into finding both the bisectors? I want to directly go to the acute angle bisector. I want to directly go to the obtuse angle bisector. Then this method would not be useful. This method would not be useful. Okay. So let us talk about another method. Let me copy the diagram because I'm too lazy to draw it again. So let's copy the diagram. Yeah, method number 2. Yes, anybody has any questions? So could you go to the right, please? Okay, shares. Yeah, is this the position where you want me to be in? Guys, the concept which I'm doing with you right now, you will not find very good response or very good theory on it in good books also. Okay, so I would request you once again to be very attentive. Okay. Now, method number 2, which I'm going to discuss, is the one which will help you get the result at a much faster way. Yeah, sometimes I feel lazy to draw the diagrams once again. Okay, now all of you please pay attention. Okay, let me erase this off. Yeah, now all of you please pay attention. A very important concept is going to come your way. First I will give you a working rule and then I will justify it. Okay, so I'll give you a working rule right now and then we will justify that working rule. Charan. Now Charan wants me to go back to the previous slide. Okay, Charan. Yeah, Charan, let me know. You want me to drag it left, right, up, down, where? I think everything is written here right now. Arey, no problem, Charan. I was just emotionally blackmailing you. Done. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to give you a working rule first of all, my dear, and then we are going to derive that rule. Why is that rule is working? We're going to derive it. So first, just like we did it for the bisector containing the origin, number one step is I'm going to first make my C1 and C2 positive. So I'm going to write down my equation of the lines in such a way, okay, such that my C1 and C2 have been made positive. Okay, so please write your equations in such a way that your C1 and C2 are made positive. Okay, so I'm giving you a working rule first, my dear. I'm giving you a working rule. Later on, I'll justify why this rule works, why this working rule is working. Okay, so step number one, write down the equations of the line in such a way that their constant terms have been made positive. Okay, now second step, step number two, multiply A1 with A2, multiply B1 with B2, add it. You will get a number. Okay, let's say that number is K. Okay, step number three. Step number three. Step number three is basically an if then condition. Okay, so if K is, if the K that you have got in step number two, if this is positive, okay, then please make a note. A1x B1y plus C1. Remember, these A1, B1, C1 are your new form. Old form is to be thrown out. Old form has to be discarded. Guys, don't work with your old form. The moment you have made your C1, C2 positive, you are going to work with them. You're not going to work with the old form of the lines which was given to you. Okay. So once you have made C1 and C2 positive, my suggestion would be just score off the old lines so that you don't even use it by mistake also. Okay, so now if K is positive, then with a positive sign over here, with a positive sign over here, you will get the obtuse angle bisector. So this is going to give you the obtuse angle bisector. Don't ask me why right now. I'll derive it in some time. First, note this down. And it is obvious that with the negative sign in between, you will get the acute angle bisector. Okay. Don't ask me why right now. I will derive it in some time. Okay. This will give you the acute angle bisector. Okay. Has somebody asked why? Step 2, please. Okay, Shreyas. This is your step 2. A1, A2 plus B1, B2, you find it out and you'll get a value. That value is, let's say, for the time being, I'm calling it as a K. So now I'm going to the third step where there's an if then condition. If K is positive, then those will be the corresponding bisectors. Okay. If K is negative, let me write it over here. If K is negative, then note down A1x B1y plus C1 by under root of A1 square B1 square with a negative sign. With a negative sign, my dear. That would give you the obtuse angle bisector. This will give you the obtuse angle bisector. Okay, so as you can see, you can directly jump to the bisector that you need. And I'm sorry. And A1x plus B1y plus C1 by under root of A1 square plus B1 square with a positive sign over here. This would correspond to your acute angle bisector. So this K plays a very vital role. This K term A1, A2 plus B1, B2, that plays a very vital role over here. Okay. So first, note this down and then I will explain you the reason behind this rule. First, make a note of this. If you want me to drag anywhere, please let me know. I can drag it. I think I should keep it at this position. I think. Can you drag it to the right a bit? There's nothing to the right most. You want me to go show you the left part of the screen? This part, Swaraj? I don't know where it was perfect. Sorry. Okay. Meanwhile, as you're copying, nobody asked me what if K was 0? Can it be 0 actually? If yes, then what will happen? Right, then they will be perpendicular, right? And we are not taking or we are not entertaining that case. See, remember I told you in the beginning itself, acute and obtuse angle only makes sense when the two lines L1 and L2 are not perpendicular to each other. Remember, if A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is equal to 0, basically you're trying to say that minus A1 by B1 into minus A2 by B2 is equal to minus 1, isn't it? That means A1, A2 is equal to minus B1, B2. That's how your A1, A2 plus B1, B2 becomes a 0, which clearly means that the lines are perpendicular. And if the lines are perpendicular, it doesn't even make sense to talk about this concept because there is nothing like acute angle or obtuse angle between the lines. So this concept per se would not come into existence. Absolutely. So now let me do the honors of proving this result. The proof is slightly tricky to understand, so I would like you to pay attention. I'm going to the next slide now. Okay. Anything that you would like me to explain here, do hold up or do tell me right now. Okay, I'm going to the next page. And as you know, I'm lazy. I'm going to copy the figure again. Okay, so let me copy the figure again. Now, all of you, please pay attention. I would like you to look at the figure first. Now, focus on the given diagram that I have drawn for you. In the given diagram, you would realize that this is my obtuse angle, correct? And this is my acute angle, correct? Now, let me ask you a simple question. I think most of you will be able to answer it. If I drop a perpendicular from the origin onto the yellow line, let's say. Okay, let me drop it like this. So what I'm drawing a perpendicular from the origin onto L2. Okay. Let me call this angle as alpha. Okay. Let me not draw it right now. Let me draw a perpendicular on the blue line from the origin. Okay. So what I'm doing from the origin, I'm drawing perpendiculars to the two lines L1 and L2. Okay. I hope you can all see it. Okay. Let's say this angle is alpha and this angle is beta. Okay. This length is P2. Okay. And let me call this length as P1. Right. What does this remind you of? You will say, sir, this reminds me of the normal forms of the line that we had discussed, I think in the first or the second class of our straight lines. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, all of you please pay attention. All of you please pay attention. First of all, I'm going to write down the two lines in such a way that my C1 and C2 are positive. Okay, I'll connect it to that P1, P2, alpha, beta in some time. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So here your C1 and C2 are being taken positive. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write these two lines in the normal form. How? Let's see. L1 I am going to write it like this. A1x minus B1y equal to C1. Okay. And I'm going to divide it by A1 square B1 square. This also I'm going to divide it by A1 square B1 square. And this also I'm going to divide it by A1 square B1 square. Correct? Yes or no? Now you must be wondering, why did I do this? Now, this is something that you can also answer. If you see this term very carefully, what does this term actually indicate? Look at the diagram and then tell me, what does this term actually indicate? Yes, or distance from the origin, but what? Which one? P1 or P2? P1, correct. So now basically my intention was to bring P1 over here so that I can compare it with this x cos beta y sine beta, correct? So my intention was to convert this line equation which was given to us in the general form to a normal form so that I can know what is my cos beta and what is my sine beta. So if you compare it literally, so this guy will become your cos beta and this guy will become your sine beta, correct? You can put a plus sign here just to make it more obvious. So can I say cos beta is minus a1 by under root of a1 square plus b1 square, and sine beta is minus b1 by under root of a1 square plus b1 square. Has everybody understood till this step? Then only I can proceed further. So why did I divide by a1 square plus b1 square? So that you realize that the term on the RHS is actually corresponding to your perpendicular distance from the origin. Isn't it? We all know distance formula. Come on, we did it the last class, right? So the moment the right side becomes the perpendicular distance from the origin, the left side will automatically fall in line with your normal form. Are you getting my point? Understood, Shashwat? Very good. Everybody's understood. Okay. This is slightly thought-provoking concept, not very simple to prove. Okay. Many books will not find the proof. Okay. Similarly, can I say, if you write the second equation L2 like this, minus a2x by under root of a2 square plus b2 square minus b2y by under root a2 square plus b2 square is equal to c2 by under root of a2 square plus b2 square. This will actually become p2 x cos alpha plus y sine alpha form, isn't it? Right? Go and check out the figure. Okay, p2 and this is alpha, so this will become x cos alpha y sine alpha equal to p2. Correct? In other words, can I conclude from here that cos alpha is minus a2 by under root of a2 square plus b2 square, and sine alpha is minus b2 by under root of a2 square plus b2 square? Correct? Okay. Now most of you would be wondering, why am I so worried about cos alpha, cos beta, sine alpha, sine beta? Okay. Now here is the connect. All of you come back to the figure. Come back to this figure. Do you all see here that if this is obtuse, then this angle will actually become acute? right? Are you getting my point? And if this angle were acute, then this angle would have become obtuse, right? So here is the deal that I would like to discuss. If this angle, how should I name it? Okay, let me do one thing. If the angle that contains the origin is obtuse, then can I say, my dear students, if the angle that contains the origin, again, go back to the concept of angle containing the origin, okay? If the angle that contains the origin is obtuse, then can I say alpha minus beta is acute? Correct? Yes or no? And simultaneously, or you can say otherwise also, if the angle that contains the origin is acute, then alpha minus beta is obtuse. Is there anybody who wants to disagree with this? Look at the figure and then you can disagree with me. So what I'm claiming, again I'm repeating it, if this guy, see the motion of my cursor, my pen, if this guy is obtuse, then this guy is acute, correct? And if this guy is acute, which I don't know actually, then this guy will be obtuse, correct? Because the other two angles are fixed at 90 degree and 90 degree. They cannot change, right? So if one of them becomes more than 90, the other one has to be supplementary of that, isn't it? So it has to be acute and vice versa. Agreed? Clear or not? Please type clear, then only I will move forward. Then only my algorithm that I had given you, you can understand it. Else you will not be able to understand it. Clear, Adrija? Very good. Others, clear? Namrata also clear? Very good. Guys, see, this justification is not there in your many textbooks, okay? So if you feel you can go and understand from your textbooks, let me tell you, it's very difficult to understand from there, okay? Now comes my conclusion. Let us take the first case, okay? If the angle between, if the angle containing the origin is obtuse, then can I say the obtuse angle bisector will be the one bisecting the angle containing the origin? I'm writing it down so that you can read it several times. Yes or no? If you want the obtuse angle bisector, correct? Then that is the bisector which actually contains the origin also. So obtuse angle bisector will be the one which bisects the angle containing the origin, if first case is the case. Yes or no? Right? That is, I'm trying to say, if cos alpha minus beta is positive, then, guys, remember, if alpha minus beta is acute, cos of that will be positive. Then the obtuse angle bisector is the one bisecting the angle containing the origin. Is the one bisecting the angle containing the origin. Bisecting the angle containing the origin. Do you agree with me or not? Is this step understood to you? Correct? Yes or no? So go back to the figure. If alpha minus beta is acute, then can I say the bisector, the pink one will be your obtuse angle bisector? So that is the bisector which is bisecting the angle where the origin lies. Now, why am I connecting it to the origin is because that is something that we have already derived in type 1. Correct? Now, are you connecting the dot? So I'm connecting this concept to the concept of bisector of the angle containing the origin. Now you say, oh, no wonder, sir, you made C1, C2 positive, because we had used this in our first concept also, or type 1 questions also. Correct? Now let me come to a conclusion. Still the conclusion is not reached. So do you all agree with this last yellow statement which I have written? Okay, so if cos alpha minus beta is positive, that means alpha minus beta is acute, then the obtuse angle bisector would be the one which is bisecting the angle where origin falls. Yes. Okay. That means, my dear, if cos alpha minus beta is positive, now what is cos alpha minus beta? Cos alpha minus beta is cos alpha cos beta plus sin alpha sin beta. Okay. Now don't tell me I don't know these formulas. You have already done this in trigonometry. What is cos alpha cos beta? Here only you have figured out cos alpha cos beta. So this is cos alpha. This is cos beta. So if you multiply it, you will end up getting a1 a2 by under root of a1 square b1 square under root of a2 square b2 square. Okay, plus sin alpha sin beta. Sin alpha sin beta, sin beta is this, sin alpha is this. Okay, and if you multiply it, you will see a1 b1 b2 by under root of a1 square b1 square under root of a2 square b2 square. Okay. Okay, now this is like saying a1 a2 plus b1 b2 is positive, because if you take the LCM is already positive because it is made up of under roots. So you can take it to the other side and forget about it. So guys, here is the conclusion. If this is positive, then the obtuse angle bisector will be the one where you have put a positive sign in between the equations. Why? Because we had discussed in our type 1 concept that the angle bisector of the angle containing the origin is always having a positive sign. Yes or no? And this is precisely what I had given to you in the previous slide as a theory. This is what I used to call as a K. Do you remember? So if K is positive, then with the positive sign, you will get an obtuse angle bisector. This justifies, or this proves the working rule that I had discussed with you in the previous slide, right? So automatically all other things follow. So if your A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is negative, that means your alpha minus beta is obtuse. Then with a positive sign, you will end up getting the acute angle bisector. Does that make sense? Is it understood? In the figure, isn't A minus B one of the angles? Alpha minus beta, you want to say? Yeah, alpha minus beta is this angle. So if you see this, it is basically a cyclic quadrilateral like this. I'm just drawing a rough diagram. So this is 90 degree, this is 90 degree. Basically, I'm drawing this part for you. So this is your alpha minus beta part. Okay. And this is 90 degree, 90 degree. Yeah, what do you want to ask here, Aditya? So what I'm claiming is that this guy is acute, will make alpha minus beta obtuse. And if this yellow guy is obtuse, alpha minus beta will become acute. So anyways, if this guy becomes, let's say, let me draw another figure. if this guy becomes something like this, okay, let's say alpha minus beta is like this, okay, then what will happen? Your lines would be like this, okay, then this will become an acute angle. Okay, if this is obtuse, then this will become an acute angle. So origin will lie on the side, origin will lie on the, or the bisector of the side containing the origin will be your acute angle bisector. Got the point? Here if you bisect this, then the bisector of the angle containing the origin will be your obtuse angle bisector. Got the point? This is what I was trying to explain over here. So this is your origin, you can say. Okay. Now, I will simply give you a theory, you can say a summary of this entire three conditions so that we are ready with the problem solving. So let me summarize this. Don't worry, nobody will ask you for the proof in any competitive exams, but you should know the summary. Type 1 questions is where you are basically finding the bisector of the angle containing the origin. So what is the working rule over here? Working rule over here is step number 1, write down the equations of the two lines L1 and L2 in such a way that C1 and C2 have been made positive. Okay, where C1 and C2 have been made positive. Okay, and step 2 is basically your final result. So step 2 is your answer only. Answer will be basically this line with a positive sign. So take a positive over here, and whatever answer you get by simplifying this result, that would be your required bisector. This is fine. I think we did a question also on this. Type 2 questions. Type 2 question is where you are asked for a bisector. Let me write it in white. So type 2 question is where you have been asked for the bisector of the angle containing some point alpha comma beta. Okay, in this case, what do we do? Step 1. Now here there is no need to make C1, C2 positive, unlike the step type 1 type of questions. Here what do? We find A1 alpha B1 beta plus C1 and A2 alpha B2 beta plus C2. Okay. Now if they are of the same sign, so two conditions will come. They are of the same sign, okay, or they are of the opposite signs. Okay. If they are of the same sign, then this is the step you need to follow. Then A1x B1y plus C1 by under root of A1 square B1 square with a positive sign. With a positive sign. Simplify this after you have put a positive sign, and whatever results from here, that would be your desired bisector. But if you get opposite sign, then your desired answer would be the one with a negative sign in between. Now, it is very easy to forget these rules unless until you practice them. Okay. Of course, in the exam, you cannot derive them directly unless until you figure it out geometrically. Okay. And finally, type 3 question, where you have to find the bisector of the acute or the obtuse angle, acute / obtuse angle directly. So here your step 1 is, again, write your L1 and L2 in such a way that you have made their constant terms positive. Okay, so you have made their C1 and C2 terms positive. Okay. Step number two, find A1, A2 plus B1, B2. Let me call it as a K. Okay. If K is positive, then remember with a plus sign you'll get obtuse, and with a minus sign you'll get acute. I'm not writing it because I have already written too many things. And if K is negative, then with the negative sign you'll get obtuse, and with a positive sign you'll get an acute. Now when I was a student, how I used to remember this? Whatever is the sign of K, with the same sign you'll always get an obtuse angle bisector. That's how I used to remember it. So if K is negative, then with a negative sign I'll get an obtuse angle bisector, and obviously automatically the other one will become acute. If K is positive, then with the positive sign I'll get an obtuse angle bisector, and automatically with the other sign we'll get the acute angle bisector. So this is how I used to remember. All the three types make sense to you. As I told you, we'll take almost 2 hours to discuss this concept today. Let's take one question on obtuse and acute angle bisector. I'll go back to my, no, let's take another one. If at all we have a question. Yeah, let's take this question. Which equation is the bisector of the acute angle between the lines? Guys, do not make any mistake. With so much of effort, we have understood those concepts. So let it not go in vain by you giving me all sort of negative, wrong answers. Poll is on. Take 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, but give me the right answer. Almost going to be 2 minutes. I'll give you half a minute more. Okay, last 15 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Half the class has voted. What is the other half doing? Come on, guys, vote, vote, vote. Everything has been discussed to you in the summary. Just at least see the summary chart and solve it. Okay, so let me conclude now. Most of you have gone with option number B. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay. Now, first of all, before you want to find out the acute angle bisector, remember step number one, I should have written both the lines in such a way that my C1, C2 term should be positive. Unfortunately, in the second equation, it is negative. So in order to make that positive, I have to restructure the equation like this. So this is L1, this is L2. Okay, simple as that. Now, next thing is I want to find A1, A2 plus B1, B2. So as per my given new equation, A1, A2 will be minus 36. Now, guys, remember, you have to deal with the new form of the equations. Old form has to be discarded. I've been repeating this several times today. Old form is to be discarded. All your working has to be done on the new form. Are you getting my point? So A1, A2 here will be minus 36, B1, B2 here will be plus 20, which is minus 16, which is clearly a negative quantity, So with the negative sign in between, I will get the obtuse angle bisector, but I need an acute angle bisector. So I would put a positive sign in between. So my answer would be, I'm directly writing here, this by under root of 3 square plus 4 square, which is 5, with a positive sign. Okay, please take the new equation into consideration. Okay, old equation is not to be taken into consideration. So now if you simplify this, you get, okay, and this will be 5 times minus 12x. Okay, so 39 plus 60 is 99x, minus 52 plus 25. Minus 52 plus 25 is minus 27. Why? 91 and 81. Okay, drop the factor of 9 throughout. This is your desired answer. Let's check which option is this. 11x minus 3y plus 9. Option number B is correct. Absolutely, Janta was absolutely correct. But more than this, I'm worried by, because more people have given wrong answers as compared to the right answer. 10 people have given A, C, and D, and only 8 people have gone for B. That means I have to take one more question. Guys, please follow the algorithm. It cannot get simpler than that. Now, let's take this one. Find the bisector of the acute angle between these lines. This time you'll have to type your answer in the chat box. Oh my God. Please put your answer in the chat box. Very good, very good. This time I'm seeing consistency in the answer. Aditya's answer is different. Aditya. No, you may be correct, others may be wrong. I don't know. Oh, Pratik's answer is also same. My God, different varieties of answers I'm getting. Okay, Kaushik and Aditya's answer are same. Hariharan answer is also same. Okay, in another 30 seconds, we are going to stop and discuss it. So please complete your working solution by then. Okay, Adrija. Okay, Madhav. Good, good, good. Shreyas. Did not simplify. You can't simplify even further. That's the most simplified form. Okay. Let us solve. Let us the solve. Okay. So first of all, as I told you, in step number 1, you have to make your constant terms positive in both the lines. So in order to do that, I have to multiply my first equation with a negative 1. Correct? Yes or no? Now, what's A1, A2 plus B1, B2? Oh my God, Pooja. Pooja's answer is completely different. Okay, let's check Pooja. A1, A2 plus B1, B2. That is going to be minus 7 plus 1. Oh, negative quantity. Correct? A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is going to give you a negative quantity. Correct? That means with the negative sign, I'll get obtuse angle bisector, and with the positive sign, I'll get an acute angle bisector. Okay, so fine, let's follow that. So with a positive sign, first let me write it like this, root 2. With a positive sign, root 50 is 5 root 2. Okay, root 50 is 5 root 2. Root 2 gone. Multiply with a 5, so minus 5x minus 5y plus 15 is equal to 7x minus y plus 5, which is 12x plus 4y minus 10 equal to 0. So your answer should be 6x plus 2y minus 5 equal to 0. This is your answer. Let's check who all got it correct. Na. Hariharan got it correct. Well done. Kaushik got it correct. Well done. Aditya got it correct as usual. Well done, Aditya. Only 3 people got this correct, surprisingly. What to do? Should I take one more question? Guys, please, come on. Application of formula, there you should not make a mistake. This is so unlike a JEE aspirant. Okay, anyways.